It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can email me as well, randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. As you know, I am always keeping my ears open for the hot sound that nobody else has, because nobody else has the patience to listen to city council committee hearings like I do. But when I was leaving the radio station at 3 o'clock and I saw on YouTube that there was an LA City Council Transportation Committee meeting going on, I thought I might get something good out of that. And if I didn't, I could do Rex Richardson in Long Beach with his Strong Beach program. Don't worry, we'll make fun of that tomorrow. But I tuned in to the LA City Council Transportation Committee meeting, and then I knew I got excited because I had some gold here. The Transportation Committee was having a hearing on bus driver safety, because even though LA Metro is controlled by the Metro Board, the city of Los Angeles has their own buses. They have the Dash system. It's operated by the LA Department of Transit. It's contracted out to a different company, but they have their own bus drivers to be worried about. And even though it's not LA Metro, the Dash system is also having bus drivers who are attacked, who are spit on, who are cursed out, stabbed. It goes across the gamut. And so I wanted to play you what this hearing sounded like, because it was quite eye-opening and quite fascinating to the incompetence that has led us to a situation where it is no longer safe to drive a bus in Los Angeles, city or county. Let's first get into the hearing, where a representative from LADOT describes what the safety features are for bus drivers, what the safety protocols are, how they can get help if there's a crazy person on the bus.
In response to your question, Chair, we have a number of features on board our buses in addition to training. We have barriers installed. We have for lack of a better term, a panic button, and we have a mechanism in place through radios for our bus operators to communicate directly with our dispatch.
Okay, so they've got radios so they can talk straight to the dispatch. They have a panic button, and they have a barrier. You're going to find out in the next 20 minutes why all of those things are crap and don't work. But Heather Hutt, the chair of the Transportation Committee, she also wanted to know, so what deal do you have with LAPD so if you're having a problem, they could get out there immediately? And you're going to hear something fun here.
Does LAPD have an opinion on the current safety of our DAS bus system and other contract city bus run routes?
So LAPD used to have a contract similar to the LA Metro contract, where we were providing enhanced safety presence on certain bus lines that were identified by DOT. That contract ended in 2021. And between 2021 and today, there have been no enhanced communications between DOT and LAPD outside of the regular dispatch system.
So the LAPD used to have a contract with our Dash bus system with the Department of Transportation in the city. That was ended in 2021. I wonder why. Oh, when you hear why, you're going to giggle like I did in the car. I laughed out loud. But let's go through some of the other safety features before we get back to that very important point of we stopped even having a contract with LAPD to police these bus lines 3 years ago. Because Heather Hutt heard that phrase of the safety features that are on these Dash buses to help out the bus drivers when they're getting attacked by a crazy person. There's a panic button. You know, you think of a panic button like at a bank where you have that silent alarm that'll trigger the police immediately so they can help you out knowing that you're being robbed. So what is the panic button situation on these Dash buses? Well, let's find out.
I meant to ask a question to DOT when you said panic button, for the lack of a better word. Who's it go to?
Great question. So there's a panic button. Who does the panic button alert when you hit the panic button because you're panicking because the crazy person has a knife and they're coming at you?
Currently, it does not go anywhere. There's a panic button that's pushed, and then it displays a sign around the bus that says "Call 911 emergency."
The panic button on the Dash buses just plays a loud noise that says, "Please call 911." That is not a panic button. That is a buzzer.
Currently, it does not go anywhere. There's a panic button that's pushed, and then it displays a sign around the bus that says "Call 911 emergency," so the public can see and call right away. We are looking into options of when that button is pushed, if it can actually communicate to dispatch. So we're exploring that options now, actually.
Yes, now, after the highlights of attacks on bus drivers are in the news every single week, now we'd like that panic button to actually go somewhere. But right now, you hit the panic button, it notifies the other people on the bus that are witnessing the violence, "Hey, could you call 911 and stop filming this?"
So it's asking the public to come in and help. Okay.
Even Heather Hutt has had enough of this nonsense.
It's not available.
Now, the union that represents the bus drivers for the LA DOT's Dash buses is the Teamsters. And they brought a representative, and they're not so happy with the safety situations for their members.
Thank you. Adriana Avila, president of Teamsters Local 572. And we do have some comments we'd like to make, specifically regarding some of the responses that we've heard today. I heard LADOT say that there's a number of features that have been added in addition to training of our members. And our members to date have reported that there has been no additional safety training.
Oh, so DOT is straight up full of crap.
Also, the radios that our members are given on the buses don't work.
Okay, so the panic button doesn't go anywhere. The radios don't work, so you can't radio dispatch. And there is no contract with the police to help you out either. The only thing you can do if someone is coming at you with a knife or spitting in your face and screaming at you and talking in tongues is to call 911.
So it's great to have a radio, but if it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't really help them. In addition, thank you for addressing the panic button that does nothing except send an alert to say call 911, hoping somebody calls 911. So while our members are being physically assaulted, one of these things is supposed to be happening.
I am so glad that this Teamsters member is telling it like it is, because this is the reality, and this is a situation that most people are not going to know about. You're going to know about it because you tuned in today, and I had the patience to listen to this meeting, but this is eye-opening. This is not the LA Metro system. This is the City of Los Angeles Dash buses, and there are zero safety features for those bus drivers, and they're getting attacked at the same rate as LA Metro. Now, the representative for the company that contracts to hire the bus drivers, they didn't even know the radios were broken.
Judy Smith, Senior Vice President for MV Transportation. The comments regarding radios being inoperable, that is something I will take up, but I'm not aware that that's been an issue on our routes. We've met with the Teamsters on a few occasions, and I'm just taken aback a little bit, so I'll go back and investigate that as a senior VP.
And did you know you have a panic button that just says panic? A panic button that if you hit it, asks the other people on the bus that are witnessing the violence, could you please call 911? Now, I typically like to listen to the Transportation Committee for two reasons. One, I'm usually going to hear something that irritates me from Eunice Hernandez.
Yes.
Although she was pretty quiet in this meeting. I think she has a friend that's a Dash driver, so she was going to be pretty quiet about her defund the policies. But the other member that I get very excited about in the Transportation Committee is Tracy Park. Tracy Park represents the West Side. Tracy Park took over for this jackass.
Oh, he's still on drugs. He's dealing drugs and sleeping with teenagers in encampments.
Oh, Bonin, we don't miss you at all. Tracy Park has had it up to here with the lack of safety for people riding the bus, for people driving the bus. And she had a lot of bones to pick with the safety protocols that we have. I wish she was on the Metro board, but no. Karen Bass has a selection of members she can put on the Metro board, and she chose Katie Yaroslavsky instead of Tracy Park. Let's hear what Tracy Park has to say about the barrier that's supposed to protect the bus driver from the crazy person that wants to spit on them.
For Teamsters, thank you for that list of issues. The ongoing concerns about lack of training, we've heard that repeatedly over the course of many meetings, not just on this issue, but on others. The radio's not working and the panic button's doing nothing. I have questions about the plexiglass, right? We've all been patting our backs on.
Wait, it's just plexiglass?
Right, we've all been patting our backs on ourselves on the back, acting like that's something useful. I'm curious how our drivers feel about it. Do they think it's adequate? Do you feel safe?
No.
They have one representative who's a driver, and she said, no, I don't feel safe with the plexiglass. But wait till you hear the next part.
Can I just, council member, note that the plexiglass was put in place initially in response to COVID. So it was not intended to address the type of issues we're facing now. And so adding to that, exploring how we can enhance that barrier to better improve the safety of our drivers. But just, I think it's important to note that the initial response was for COVID.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We've just been recently touting it as an additional safety measure, and I'm not.
They put in a plexiglass for the Rona, and now they're saying that is supposed to protect people from the crazies, and it's not.
As an additional safety measure, and I'm not convinced that it does anything one way or another.
Now, remember how earlier in the meeting, when Heather Hutt asked the LAPD what their response is supposed to be for Dash, and the LAPD said, well, our contract actually ended with the Dash system and the DOT in 2021, and so we don't really have a relationship with them. Tracy Park had some questions about that. Just you wait for this. This is why I tune into the LA City Council Transportation Committee, for crap like this.
So I heard, I think it was you that said that LAPD used to provide services on buses until 2021. What happened in 2021? Why did we stop doing that?
I was contacted by DOT when I was the commander over Transit Services Group, and we were told that at the direction of the council, that the contracting services with the LAPD were to stop immediately until an ambassador program, similar to the one that LA Metro was exploring at the time, was brought on board.
So, in 2021, the LA City Council, that then was made up of people like Mike Bonin, yes, that's actually him groaning, canceled the contract with LAPD because this was, of course, the defund the police era.
Because we are the defund the police people, right?
She wasn't even on the council yet. They canceled the contract because they'd like to explore an ambassador program like the one that LA Metro was already putting together. Everyone on the same page so far? Let's keep going.
That was 2021, and that was the last that we had heard about.
Has that been,
Yeah.
have ambassadors been brought on
we have
board? Have we done anything
Ambassador
since?
program?
We do not have an ambassador program.
So they canceled the contract with the LAPD 3 years ago because they were going to get ambassadors. It's 3 years later. They don't have an ambassador program.
What we have been discussing is different avenues to either re-engage and reinitiate that contract with LAPD, bring on an ambassador type program, or have a separate third-party security system in place. And those are just conversations we've been having internally about what path to take.
And so they've done absolutely nothing for 3 years. They have no contract with LAPD. LAPD used to patrol those buses, ride some of those buses, but no, we don't want that anymore. And again, this isn't LA Metro. This is directly controlled by the LA City Council, by the LA Department of Transportation. And this city council made these buses less safe for the people that they hire to work on these buses, to drive these buses. They actively made it less safe. They have a panic button that doesn't do anything. The radios don't work. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And not only have I had it to hear with all this nonsense, so has Tracy Park.
So
You can hear how frustrated she is.
So I've talked to a lot of bus drivers recently, and one of the things that I have heard from them is that they see a lot of the same folks over and over again. And a lot of times they're actually,
It's like an LA City Council meeting. You see the same crazy people over and over and over again.
and a lot of times they're actually afraid to speak up and don't want to pursue charges or do anything when someone's being aggressive or threatening or harassing with them. In part because they don't necessarily want to have the route reassigned, which is one of the interventions or strategies that can be used if someone's not comfortable on the route they're driving, or because they're afraid of the person that gets on the bus and acts up. So do we have any kind of a system in place for a driver who has those concerns to talk to somebody about it and get some kind of a resolution so that they can go out and do their route and move people around the city without the fear or reality of being attacked or assaulted?
I'll defer to MV to address what their internal process is like.
Right.
Well, we do have our operators who would provide an incident report if there's an individual that they're concerned about. One of the challenges with the public is on transportation, we don't have records of who they are, what their names are. We're not picking them up from a particular address. They just get on the bus and get off.
This is the sad reality, and I don't know what the answer is here. You know, there's a lot of talk of what Metro can do to toughen up the train stations, the platforms, the trains themselves, you know, making sure that people can only go in and out if they're paying the fare or whatever. How exactly, and maybe someone has an answer to this, maybe you don't. How do you keep crazy people off the bus? We have thousands of bus stops. There's no way we can police all of them. Is there got to be some way with technology? Do you have to scan your ID to get on the bus? That'll slow things down. How do we keep crazy people off the bus? And if we can't do that, can we at least have radios that work?
Thank you. Is there any Wi-Fi on our DOT?
Do those run on Wi-Fi?
I don't.
I don't know. I don't use the Wi-Fi. I'm not sure.
Anyone
Yeah.
know?
We do. We have Wi-Fi on board our buses.
Are the radios attached to Wi-Fi? Is any reason we can think of why we would be having range and coverage issues on them?
Yeah, some places that the dash buses go, the radios don't work. The panic button doesn't work. Let me, before we open it up to the phones, I want to hear one more piece from Tracy Park because she makes an incredible point.
I'm curious about the training for our drivers. We have removed our law enforcement partners from transit, and in DOT's case, I've never got around to replacing them with ambassadors or anything except plexiglass and panic buttons to nowhere.
Panic buttons to nowhere. The LA DOT story.
And now we're focusing on de-escalation training, and I get that. That's the emphasis. We're leading with that on a lot of different fronts. But what if the de-escalation training doesn't work? We see a lot of violent, dangerous, unstable people using public transit every day. And I feel like our riders and our operators are left out there to fend for themselves, unprotected. Radios and panic buttons and some plexiglass here and there doesn't cut it. And these situations, in my opinion, are getting worse and more violent. And I am worried about these folks out in the field. So beyond escalation training, what's the next step? If it doesn't de-escalate, what are you trained to do?
And their response is, well, they can call 911. Except, you know, when there's no cell service because they're at the observatory or something. So there you go. That's a little of what the meeting sounded like just minutes ago. This thing ended at 4 o'clock. I was listening to it live. And this is the question I have for you. And maybe you have an answer for this. Maybe you don't. Maybe we could brainstorm here, but we've got to make these buses safer for the people that ride them, but especially the people who drive them. And when you're focused on keeping everyone that's on the bus safe because you're trying to drive safe, you can't really de-escalate a crazy person. You can't kick the crazy person off the bus. How do you think we keep crazy people off the bus? Is there a way to do this? Do you have an idea? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Maybe it's since we know who the crazy people are, they need to be off the street entirely. That's one solution. But how do we get the crazies off the bus? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Well, you've heard the security protocols with LADOT's dash buses. They canceled their contract with LAPD 3 years ago. The radios don't work, and the panic button literally just says, panic, somebody call 911. How do we keep the crazy people off the bus? Do you have a solution? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Mike in LA. Mike, hello.
Oh, geez, that was so crazy that I'm going in Staples and I'm laughing to beat hell. And somebody says, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "I just heard the craziest thing. The bus drivers on RTD, they have a panic button, and somebody asks, 'What happens?' And the city council person says, 'Nothing.' And I go, this is insane. I've owned my own business for like the last 45 years. And if I am dealing with parents, if I said that to any parents, they would fire me on the spot, so to speak.
And you notice nobody loses their jobs over any of this incompetence. Mike, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Look at that. Somebody laughing out loud listening to this show. We might just get a new listener. More of your calls coming up. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang. How would you get the crazies off the bus? 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We just played you the sound of today's LA City Council Transportation Committee meeting where there was a presentation of the security protocols at LADOT, the dash buses. Those are the buses directly controlled by the city of Los Angeles. And their safety features include a panic button. And the DOT was asked, hey, what does the panic button do?
Currently, it does not go anywhere. There's a panic button that's pushed, and then it displays a sign around the bus that says call 911 emergency, so the public can see and call right away.
There are no actual security features. They also canceled the contract with LAPD to patrol these buses 3 years ago because they were going to look into creating an ambassador program, and then they never did. The radios don't work. Sometimes the bus driver, the only thing they can do is call 911 themselves from their cell phone. But even then, sometimes there's no reception, like if they are going through the observatory. So here's my question to you, and I don't know if there's a good answer for this, but we're seeing so many attacks on bus drivers. They're trying to drive the bus. They don't have time to deal with the insane people. How do we keep the crazy people off the bus? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Scott in Burbank. Scott, hello.
Hey, good afternoon, Randy. A longtime listener, first-time caller. I had an idea. I think we should come at this from an entirely different angle. I think we need to get a law on the books that has a mandatory 6-month jail sentence for anyone that assaults or interferes with the driver of a common carrier, whether it's a Metro bus, a taxi, an Uber, any of that. And I think until we get a law in place to prevent that, I think it's just going to be a circus. And I don't know how we get the ball rolling on getting a law like that enacted, but maybe you could bring it up with John Phillips tomorrow on the afternoon show and see what he says about it.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. In fact, I would take it one step further. If we started treating the laws that are around our transit system the way we do around planes, because you're in the same kind of situation, you have a whole bunch of people that if you attack a pilot, if you attack a flight attendant, you are violating so many federal laws. I think we have to make it federal laws that if you assault, if you assault a bus driver, that is a federal offense, which means mandatory prison. I think you got some great ideas there, Scott. Thank you so much for calling in. Call back soon. 800-222-KABC. Do you have any good ideas here? How do we keep the crazy people off the bus? 800-222-KABC. Kyan in Woodland Hills. Kyan, hello.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
I'm great.
Hello. Yes. Just like you said, when the door is open in the bus, it's already too late. If there's a crazy person there, the driver doesn't have a chance to do anything. So my suggestion is for bus companies, whatever they are, to have a little section in gas stations or supermarkets that people actually have to go purchase, show ID, and purchase a transponder. And the doors have to get modified. So if they come in, if they don't have that transponder or a code to push in to get in, they won't get in. And when they get in, there has to be another door, and then they can actually go in. So it was like a holding area until, you can go in. You can't just get away with it. That's my idea.
I think that's
Also,
a great
they should
idea.
have-
There's definitely something we can do, whether it's you've got to have a specific card to ride it, and that card shows that, we know who you are, we know who gets on the bus, we know who gets off the bus, and that would definitely make it's still available to the public, but there's got to be some kind of restriction, because right now we're letting anybody get on, and I just found out the Dash buses still aren't charging fares, so literally the crazy people are just riding all day. That's a really great idea, Kai, and thank you so much for the call. This audience, brilliant. This audience has great ideas. That's what we're here for. Yeah, maybe, and it will slow down the buses, unfortunately, but what did we do when we had horrific events that happened at the airports? We slowed the hell down at it getting on an airplane. And maybe we got to do the same thing with the bus system, with the train system, because you have a very similar situation, a whole bunch of people, something can go real wrong real quick. To protect everybody, yeah, we might have to verify the identity of every single person getting on that bus. One idea. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Kimberly in Palmdale. Kimberly, hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
My thing is, I was a driver for RTD and MTA, and when we used to hit our emergency button, it would shut down our radios, period. And you couldn't communicate with anybody. But my suggestion as far as a driver is concerned, they need to have glass, like bulletproof glass, on the side of the driver and on the driver's windows. I have had, once you get trapped in that driver's seat, you're going to have to fight your way out. And I mean seriously, because I've had to do it, to be able to get out and take control of the situation. And people downtown, the Department of Transportation, they don't care about the drivers. They've been talking about closing drivers in since 1984. They have been talking about it. So the drivers aren't safe, and I think maybe they should take a class, MACE class or a TASER class. That's safety for the drivers and maybe for some of the passengers.
I think those are some really solid ideas, and I can't believe you're so right. Going back to all the way to the RTD days, they've talked about securing the enclosures for the bus drivers, and they're still not doing it. Kimberly, thank you so much for your call and your expertise. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Carlos in L.A. Carlos, hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Great ideas, the people that called before. Add to it that the panic button could be connected to a light, like a police siren light on top of each bus. The bus driver should come to a stop, and that light gets activated, and people on the bus know when that stops and that light turns on, the other passengers should get off. And local police that see that light should then report to that should report to that bus. Thank you.
That is a really great idea. Carlos, I love it. How do we get these brilliant listeners on the LA DOT. Because right now the plan is to have a panic button that just says, somebody call 911. We'll keep going with your phone calls here. Some great ideas. How do we keep the crazy people off the bus? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls as we discuss hardening our buses, making them safer, getting the crazies off of there. Because currently in the city of Los Angeles, with the buses that the city of Los Angeles is in charge of, the Dash system, this is our safety protocols. A panic button. What does the panic button do?
Currently, it does not go anywhere. There's a panic button that's pushed, and then it displays a sign around the bus that says call 911 emergency, so the public can see and call right away.
Let's go to Wade in LA. Wade, hello.
Hello. So after 9/11, we solved this problem by implementing the Air Marshal program, where people on airplanes didn't know whether or not there was a marshal. So we need a bus marshal program so that people on the buses are constantly wondering, is there a police officer in plain clothes on the plane or on the bus here with me? And then they'll fall in line. And then on top of that, we need to make everybody, essentially the general citizens, essentially those marshals, by streamlining the concealed carry program. Because currently in Los Angeles, it takes 18 months to get your concealed carry license if you're a law-abiding citizen. And that should not be a political thing. Everybody on both sides of the aisle should want to protect themselves and their loved ones.
And they should have the right to. Wade, you are so right. That is a great idea. Thank you so much for the call. Yes, undercover officers, bus marshals. Now we're really cooking here. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang. More of your calls in minutes on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. Let's go to... And we're running short on time. Unfortunately, it's only an hour show, so I want to try to get to as many people as possible. If I go to you, we only got about 30 seconds for each call. Mark in Studio City. Mark, hello.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? I
What's
think
going on?
the root cause of... Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Randy? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, anyway, it's not just a bus problem. I mean, I could save $8 a week if I could take the bus. My wife won't let me. Too dangerous. But you're going to have to go to the root of the situation, which is there's no prosecution for crimes. You can steal $900 out of a store. Hey, have a good day. You could.
Thank you so much for the call, Mark. Appreciate it. Yes, getting rid of Gascon, reforming 47, that will be a game changer. Because you know what? We did not have this level of incidents pre-2014 and especially pre-2020. Let's go to Francisco and Whittier, where the girls are prettier. Francisco, hello.
How you doing, Randy? Just want to let you know that one of your callers had a great idea about the transponders. Well, to keep the buses going fast, platforms. They need to put the platforms with doors to get them ready to get them into the buses before that.
There we go. Thank you so much for the call, Francisco. Appreciate it. Farmer Tice in Phoenix. Farmer Tice, hello.
We don't have that problem in Phoenix. I spent 64 years in California and then got the hell out. We carry guns over here. John Lott was right. More guns, less crime. We do not have that kind of a problem right now.
I think you make a great point. Thank you so much for the call, Farmer Tice. Appreciate it. Let's go to Kathy in Rosemead. Kathy, hello.
Yes, hello. Undercover officers really work. They've done that before, and they're right on the spot. Make the riders have an ID. They don't ride, or get rid of those down there that's running.
Oh, Kathy, I appreciate your passion, but that's a word you can't say on the radio. Wayman, we got that, right? Alan in Toluca Lake. Alan, hello.
Randy, the only way you're going to get rid of the crazy people on the bus is to get rid of the crazy people running the bus.
We get rid of the crazy politicians like the ones that said we're going to cancel the LAPD contract with DOT and not replace it with anything. That is going to be a step in the right direction. Thanks, Alan. And last but not least, Dale in Long Beach. Dale, hello.
Yes, Randy. In 1987, several French taxi cabs were installed with a device that would shock unruly passengers in the back seat. Maybe that's the direction we could go to.
I think that's a great idea. Shock them until they comply. Thank you so much for the call, Dale. Appreciate it. You want to email us, you can do so at randykabc@gmail.com. Dewey writes in, did you ever see the Seinfeld episode where Kramer was carrying a lot of cash and he was afraid everyone on the train was going to rob him? When someone did rob him, an undercover officer said, police, you're under arrest. That is what we need. We need undercover officers that could travel solo or in pairs, perhaps carrying a device that would beep or light up to alert the driver there's an undercover officer on board. This is probably the best idea we've had, with a lot of really good ideas, but I think we got to go immediately into undercover officers on all buses, on all trains. Look at this. This is a solutions-oriented program. Thank you so much for the calls and the emails and the participation. I'll be back tomorrow for another edition of the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.